Hello, everyone, and welcome to the occupational psychology class. Um, the occupational psychology course can also be called a career counseling course. This particular course is taught as a career counseling course as opposed to the occupational psychology that's typical in industrial relations, which is what you would find in many business schools. Because our focus is along the lines of um, career counseling and along the lines of counseling in general. And so today we're going to look at the historical development of occupational counseling or career counseling and some of the basic issues that would lay the foundation for what we will be learning in this course. Um, so let's start off by looking at the very origins of career counseling. Career counseling started as a profession due to developments that took place during the Industrial Revolution. You know, the Industrial Revolution was that time in this country where um, industrialization started, when there were a lot of factories were being built, and many people were moving from the rural areas to the urban areas to seek employment in companies. And that was the first time that they were creating machines for people at work. And it was all, and most of these people that came from the rural areas to the cities were farmers and uneducated people, people that were not trained in work itself. And so there were a lot of injuries and accidents and whatnot. Um, and also, um, career counseling came as a result of the need to develop some type of framework to help people to get into vocational training. Just like I said, as people came and they didn't have the skill sets to work in industries, there was a need to establish vocational training for these individuals to start off to be able to work. The second part, or the second factor that contributed to um, occupational counseling or occupational psychology is the world wars. So we're talking about the First World War and the Second World War. First World War taking place between 1914 and 18, and the Second World War taking place around 1946. When people went off to war, many of these individuals acquired significant disabilities, and when they came back, there was a need for these people to be rehabilitated and to be retrained such that they could get back to work. And so occupational counseling evolved out of that, having to support these individuals in that way. And so occupational counseling is closely tied to the development of the US political, economic, educational, and social changes. Um, in fact, one of the major theorists, or one of the major contributors to occupational theory, Pope suggested that the development of career counseling in the US evolved through six stages, and he went back to the start of the Industrial Revolution um, and traced that history to the current period and said that the focus of occupational counseling essentially is to address issues that are related to work. How do people um, develop themselves in such a way that they could go out and get the type of jobs that they need based on their preferences, based on their skill sets and aptitudes. The second part of it also is that Work is something that has a lot of regard in the U.S. And when people go out to work, there is not much of a fine line between their work life and their personal life, because the issues that arise in their work also impact the personal lives. And the issues that occur in their personal lives also impact their work life. For instance, if someone had a substance abuse problem, that is likely to impact their ability to work. And that's why many employers and organizations have what we call employee assistance programs that help people that have substance abuse and related issues to deal with them so that they can come back and function. And so career counseling essentially, um, you know, encompasses these two areas. Um, Another person that also contributed to career counseling is Frank Parson, and he was a person that was educated in Cornell University and wrote several books and articles on social reform, especially as it pertains to work. Parson believes that career counseling should be a distinct profession, that it should be something that's organized in such a way that people um, people's preference for particular professions can be facilitated by making a determination of their aptitudes and skills and abilities, and tying that to um, their preference for work environments. And I think this is also um, evident in many school counseling settings. Like when you go to your career counseling office or on campus, or when you talk to your uh, guidance counselor in high school, how they share with you or how they help you to kind of like look at um, the subjects that you're interested in and how those are connected to particular occupations that people do. And so for Frank Parson, the major focus of occupational counseling or career counseling was in choosing a vocation. How do people make a choice when it comes to work? Because not every um, work is suitable for everybody, and not every personality type is suitable for every kind of work. And so, um, Parson focused on that. And this is also similar to many of the other theories that we'll be looking at in our subsequent chapters. And in the readings in the book, you would find a more detailed explanation of the contributions of Frank Parson. And looking at it also in the historical context, um, starting in the 1900s, there was an association that was formed. It's called the National Career Development Association, which was formed with the aim of developing some kind of guidelines that would help professionals to work with individuals as it pertains to their careers and to provide support for them. The hope was to aid in the employment of working Americans and to ensure that people have a quality of work life. This association is still in existence today, and they have a code of uh, conduct or ethics that kind of like guides how career counselors should work with people that are seeking opportunities that are related to that are seeking help when it comes to their careers. Um, Starting in the 70s, especially in 1976, the National Occupational Information Coordinating Committee was established by an act of Congress, and this created the National Counseling and Development Guidelines. Um, this committee was later changed or changed to the National Career Development Training Institute in 1992, and this has been in existence since then. And so, what's the uh, overall focus of career counseling? The focus is on the individual, starting off with looking at what looking at the career interest of that particular individual, and tying that to the aptitude and skills and knowledge and the environment um, in which the individual is situated. So, for instance, a person that lives maybe on the south side of Huntsville or on the north side of Huntsville, and taking into consideration the opportunities that are available to them, and taking into consideration their family context, um, the resources at their disposal, their skills and preferences, and how and working with those to see how we could help that person to um, get a job or to get a career, um, and find satisfaction in doing what they're doing. Uh, Another thing is that career counseling is looks at not only work or like a job in isolation, but looks at it in terms of the entire lifespan. So what that does is that what an individual does over their working life is put into consideration. Um, so starting off with maybe their early career, their mid careers, and their late careers, and even into their retirement. What are some things that uh, they're likely to encounter, and what support will they need to address this? Um, Another thing is career choice in terms of how people make career choices. And I already touched on that. What resources can provide guidance? What support systems do they need to make a career choice? What influences their decisions when it comes to career choice? One thing that we also have to about is how work has changed, especially in contemporary times, with the use of technology and with changes, especially in information tech and how people do their jobs, and how that also impacts human interactions and a person's overall mental well being. Um, these is significant because work has changed drastically. And so, if someone was interested in a particular job, what are some trends that would occur in that job going down the line, and what are some challenges they're likely to face? And also, given that we're living in a global world, and we're living in societies that are becoming more and more diverse, what are some challenges that people would have when it comes to job, um, and in their ability to use information to address their career needs or to address their personal needs? We've talked about the fact that career counseling and personal counseling, they're interwoven, and so a challenge that a person would have in one domain will ultimately affect the other domain. And so, career counseling is founded on the basics of individual differences in strengths and assets, which is that everybody's not the same. And so, if we want to assure that people have the best work experiences, we have to make sure that those are highlighted, and also looking at it from a life perspective. So, thinking about the different roles that people play in their life and how those impact their careers, and also taking into consideration their strengths and the changing dynamics in the workplace. Um, I've talked about the fact that the world is becoming increasingly global, and there is socioeconomic and political interconnectedness. And so that's